Hi, it's Tanya and today I'm gonna do the dilemmas of a book nerd tag. I was tagged by the lovely Silje, thank you for tagging me, and the original tag was created by Lindsey's little library. I'm gonna link both of the channels down below. I realized that I didn't think of who I want to tag, so I'm gonna link some channels in the description box. I think I'm also gonna tag them on Twitter or something. Let's just jump right into the questions. The first question is book storage. How do you store and organize your books? I have one bookshelf over there and basically all my books should have a home on that shelf. So usually I found books all over the apartment and like in every bag I own and stuff like that. But basically, ideally, they should all be on my bookshelf. On that shelf I organize them by genre really loosely. I have like murder, mystery, thriller type of stuff and non-fiction and poetry. I've had my books like that for years now. I would love to try something new, but at the same time I feel like I wouldn't be able to find anything if I changed the organization system. Dilemma number 2 is tracking. How do you keep track of what you have read and what books you own? Basically I use Goodreads for tracking all the books I have read. I've been using that for a few years now and I also have a list on my journal of all the books I have read. I know a lot of people use spreadsheets, which sounds really interesting and I have tried to do that, but it didn't stick with me. When it comes to the books I own, I don't have any type of list basically. I have photos of my bookshelf so I can remember what I own. I had to do that because at some point I started buying books that I already own, especially like longer series or books by a certain author that I collect. Like, I can't remember what Agatha Christie books I own because I have like 30 of them. So I have photos on my phone of my bookshelf, but I really need to make like a proper list of all the books I own. I'm just too lazy to do that. Dilemma number 3 is borrow. Do you lend out your books? I don't really have that many people in my life who want to borrow my books. Basically, I have borrowed some books for my sister and mother, and I know I'll get them back eventually and in good condition, so I don't mind borrowing my books for them. There are definitely books I wouldn't want anyone to borrow because they are my favorite books or they are in such a good condition that I don't want anything bad to happen to them. But yeah, mostly I don't have a problem with it, especially because I mostly own like cheap mass market paperbacks, so if something happens to the book, it's not the end of the world. Dilemma number 4 is buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? I think most of my books are secondhand. I love thrift shops and I love like hunting books in thrift shops. If I want new books, I order them online from like Book Depository or Adlibris. I would love to actually buy my books from a real bookstore, but they are so fucking expensive and my city only has one really small bookstore, so for a person like me who doesn't have that much money, thrift shops and Book Depository are the best options. Dilemma number 5 is comments. How do you respond to the "how do you read so much" comment or similar comments? I don't really know because I don't really get this comment. If someone wants to know how they can read more, I can give tips, but I have no idea how I would respond to that. Dilemma number 6 is next book. How do you pick your next to read? I'm definitely a mood reader, so I don't really have a problem with this. There are usually a few books in my like mental TBR in my head, and when I finish a book I usually just pick something that has been on my mind for a while. Or if I'm like in the mood for thrillers or poetry or something, I just might go through my TBR or see what I can find. There are so many books I want to read and not enough time, so I can always find something. Dilemma number 7 is travel. How do you pick what books do you bring on vacation with you? I don't really travel, and if I travel it's usually like to another city to visit my parents or something for a few days. I never really stay away from home for that long, so I don't really have to like bring half of my bookshelf with me. Usually I just bring the book I'm reading at the moment and maybe something that has been on my mind lately. I basically always have a audiobook service going on, so I don't really have to bring like physical books with me because I can listen to audiobooks or read ebooks through those. So I just use those or get like ebooks or audiobooks through my library or something like that. Dilemma number 8 is annotate. Do you write or highlight or mark up your books in any way? Normally I don't. Like basic novels, I rarely do that. I don't really write on my books or do anything permanent like that. Poetry books are a bit different. I usually mark down my favorite poems from the poetry books, but normally I don't really do that. Dilemma number 9 is new or backlist. Which do you prefer, new releases or backlist books? I don't really keep up with new releases. If it's a series that I love or like an author that I love, I might look them up, but usually I just read older books. The last dilemma, number 10, is sequels. Do you read books as they are released or wait for an entire series to be published before reading book 1? There are a couple series that I'm currently reading that are still being published and I hate waiting for the new book, so usually I try to go with like series that have already been published. It's so boring to wait for a new book for like a year, especially because I tend to forget what happened in the previous book or books, and then I just need to read them all again and it's a mess. That was the last question, and like I said, I'm gonna leave some channel links in the description who I'm gonna tag. I have seen so many people do this tag, but if you haven't done this already, please consider yourself tagged. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye!